Welcome to our podcast.
Welcome to, what's the name we settled on?
Ko-Morbid.
Ko-Morbid. And do you want to tell our listeners what that means to us? Or means and then means to us?
Yes. So thank you for tuning in to Ko-Morbid. Truly appreciate it from the bottom of our heart. It's a bit of a labour of love, this podcast. Mostly because we think we're hilarious and we want you to join us in that. So we are both neurodivergent, and the term comorbid actually means it's short for comorbidity, and it means when two or more diagnoses are together. So we both have, we are neurodivergent, and we both have two different neurodivergencies.
Yeah, two or more.
Yeah, two or more.
Yeah.
So for instance, I'm dyslexic, and I also self-diagnosed ADHD currently while I wait for my diagnosis. And you have...
I'm what they call audio ADHD, which is a combination autism
Go on, get it out.
autism and ADHD. And then I'm a triple threat, so I have dyslexia as well, just checking it in, mixing it up, keeping it real. Two of them were late diagnoses. I feel like all of them for me were late diagnoses, just like adolescence and then adult years.
When were you diagnosed with dyslexia?
When I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like
post school.
Well, I was post school. After I was in college, so like I struggled throughout school, and I was like, I don't know, like I know all the answers when it came to writing essays and reading books. I had no idea what I was seeing. I didn't know there was a different way of. It was more like, why is everyone getting this and I'm not? Like, why is everyone really good at this and I'm not? So I just didn't know, and I guess for me it was a struggle because I ended up hating things. Like I love reading, I love stories, I love fiction, non-fiction, and I disliked it because it was so hard and so difficult.
And what about your other diagnosis?
So I was first diagnosed with autism this year, January. We already spoke about, and we had self-diagnosed myself.
I think probably for some context, we used to live together. So we are ex-partners, we used to live together, and we've worked through all of that now to become very good friends. We co-parent Roscoe here, who's joining us on the sofa today.
And probably always.
Yeah, because we can't go anywhere without him, because he's a lockdown doggy.
Yeah, inseparable. But, I mean, we were always close friends.
We didn't know each other before we started dating, though.
No.
We've become close after.
Yeah, that's generally what happens when you're in a relationship.
That's not what I meant. I mean after we separated.
Yes. I feel like we always have been close, we've just had some difficult times. I would describe it like that. Like we've never not spoken.
That's true.
from like the day we met.
Mm.
I just think we went through some difficult and challenging times.
Mm.
That's how that was my experience. I can't.
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
right. Anyway, back to the topic, your
Yeah.
autism.
So we already knew that I was maybe autistic, and we just didn't know. We knew I was autistic by the things that I struggled with, and I just thought they were just quirks, or I just didn't have the words. To be honest, I didn't have the language, and the stigma that came with the word autism, it kind of made me go, oh no, I'm not autistic or whatever. Like, it was a bad connotation, like growing up, and but like we had spoken about it, and I was like, oh, like after going down a rabbit hole and reading about it, maybe I am autistic, and like reading books and listening to podcasts and TED Talks and like other people's experiences.
I think what really gave it away for me was the constant argument about the washing. The why can't you just do the washing in the way that I want the washing to be done. That was the tip off for me, I think.
Wow. Like, okay, yeah. I mean, I feel like there was probably some other really obvious ones. But yeah, the washing was like...
The washing was the one, it was the one.
Like, yeah, like that is... I would probably say that, like, I have to have things reset. I would have said maybe my struggle with change, or my delayed processing could have been like really obvious ones. Needing to have compression time. Oh, like we had decompression times when like I would be out socializing and I would just get completely exhausted, and we had Sabrina. I moved in with Sabrina, so she has a spare room, so like that was like my decompression room. Not like a naughty corner, but it was just like I would just go in and like, I don't know, play guitar or something, just try and like regulate myself. So I think...
Did you do that? I don't think you ever did that.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
Why do I not remember that?
Or I would just do it in like our room and I would just sit there.
I don't even remember you having a guitar here. God, have I blocked out like huge?
No, it was like your guitar.
Oh right, okay. That's why I don't remember it.
See what I have to put up with. Yeah, so and then approached NHS, and they were like, we don't diagnose adults, and I was just like, okay, I'm on my own. And then I found out through work, with my work health insurance covers it, so I was just like, hey, you can go private. And then that was really quick, and literally on the day she was just like, yeah, you have ASD. She also said in the report that I scored quite high for ADHD, and the clinic got back to me and said, do you want to go and have an ADHD test? And I was like, sure, why not? It's free. So had that, and that was also quite quick, and literally told me there and then as well, and was like, medication, really weird conversation about having medication for it, and my quite strong reluctance of not taking medication, kicked in, and there was like you can have this one, but I wouldn't advise it because you have a heart condition. This one, but I wouldn't advise it for a heart condition. Or you can have this one, this is the best one for you, but you know, there's still risk of sudden death. And I was just like, why would I do that to myself?
And so you've also got some health conditions as well. That
should I just give them?
Yeah, I think your full potted history. Yes, I think. If we could just get your GP records out and read from them, I think that would be.
I mean, do we have time? Yeah, so I guess like maybe on another episode we'll dive in deeper about like all of my health conditions, because you know I used to be a walking pharmacy at one point and now I'm not.
Oh, do you know what I used last night?
What?
The grounding mat.
Is it amazing?
Yes and no. Like
I think it takes time.
Yeah. So I felt like, so we just bought grounding mats, which are like mats with like bits of silver on that you plug in, and it's meant to like give you some electrical current while you sleep to help you ground. And I could feel like little charges, I guess. Like a bit like like almost like a bit like, if you could imagine like pins and needles, but like in an electric current. With I could kind of feel that.
That was not my experience with mine, but
no. And then like that was for a bit until I got used to it. It was really soft. It wasn't like it was really soft, and then I got used to it, and then
Did you have like a deep sleep? Like, was it restful? Did you wake up feeling rested?
I was a bit tossy-turny. But I think I woke up like 3 times. Which is okay. Like, it's not the best, it's not the worst.
Yeah.
I think I fell asleep quite soon after watching the eclipse, and then kind of got up and had to go to bed when it was quite late. It's like 12:30 at that point or something. So I don't know. Getting up from the sofa to the bed probably wasn't the most helpful.
But yeah, like it might get like better.
Oh, what's yours like?
So the first night I didn't sleep. So I guess for me it's quite normal for me to wake up at like 2 and then not be able to get, or 1 or 2 and then not be able to get back to sleep again for a while. So that happened, and so the period of awake is less. So I'm staying in that, like I think like my average amount of time I would be asleep would be like 4 hours. So that's slowly getting shorter, but I'm still waking up. I think just like progressively, but I do feel rested actually. Like there are some times where I'm just like, I could definitely stay in bed a lot longer, but overall I'm like, okay, like energized and like got things to do.
Great.
Okay. And I think like over time it's got better. So over time, like it would take your body some time to, I guess, get used to being grounded, because we're so the opposite. Like our charge is 0. Like we do everything in our lives not to be grounded. So we're just kind of it'll be interesting to see what it's like in like a month.
Watch this space.
Tell me about your diagnosis.
So I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 30. And that was when I was doing my first masters in social work. And I think I always thought I was dyslexic, but I always just thought I was bright enough to kind of muddle through. And then I realised that I kind of needed a bit more help than I had. So I've had that diagnosis for about 10 years. And that impacts on me in that it's really actually the overlap between dyslexia and ADHD is quite significant. They both impact on my working memory. So I can struggle to remember words, I can go off on tangents when I'm talking, and yeah, the impact on my working memory is quite a lot. So I'm still self-diagnosed with ADHD because I'm waiting for a formal diagnosis, but I believe I have inattentive type ADHD because I basically tick every bit of criteria for it that I've seen on any little tick sheet. So anyone with ADHD will recognise the immense frustration of putting something down and it then being lost in the world. That's it. I put down some keys. I'm constantly putting down keys, constantly then losing keys, trying to find them, my phone. So yeah, so at 40, I'm waiting for my late diagnosis of ADHD.
So you have a pattern here, like there's a 10-year gap.
I didn't have anything at 20.
Oh, yeah.
I was probably just too busy going out and getting drunk at that point.
Yeah.
What was I doing at 20? Oh, yeah, that was definitely the case. I would have been at uni.
Yeah.
So just looping it all the way back now to why we called it Ko-Morbid. Obviously, there's two of us. It says, so Ko-Morbid is two or more together. So we thought it would be a funny play on words. And we're a little bit dark in our humour.
It's a bit morbid, yeah.
Yeah.
I completely forgot what I was going to say.
That's the ADHD, babe. That's the ADHD.
You know what? Like, there's sometimes where I'm just like, I'll do something and be like, that's my autism. Or I'll do something and be like, that's the ADHD.
Like, we were talking the other day, weren't we? It was like you were saying, actually, the things you thought were quirks in your personality were actually just symptoms of autism or ADHD. And I'm the same, like everyone, to the whole of my life, people have been like, oh, you're so quirky. And now I'm like, oh no, I'm just standard neurodivergent. Nothing special to see here, just standard neurodivergence.
Like, yeah, just
struggling, completely time blind.
Struggling with the world.
Yeah. Makes us a bit funnier though, I think. I know people don't like being like, oh, that's a superpower. I just think it's, you have things you do well and things you don't do well.
Yeah,
and
but
I do think we're funnier for it.
Yeah, but I think like neurodivergent people own what they do well and own what they don't do well.
It's so shocking at the other bits.
Like really well. So
that's a really good point. Yeah.
I think we're very honest and transparent, even if we're trying not to be. Like it's something that we cannot. We can't fake it, right? So, like for you, I know you're always going to be late.
100%.
I have a 50-50 chance of being late or being early. I'm either autistic on that day or ADHD on that day, or in that moment.
Yeah.
Whereas I know if I'm going to meet you somewhere, I'm going to change the time and tell you maybe half an hour to an hour what time you need to be there, and that works. But like, I mean, you can't
completely and utterly time blind.
Yeah, and like that's something you can't fake. You can't fake being on time. Like you can maybe make it on time, like once or twice, but
it gives me so much anxiety to be on time.
Exactly, like it will make you so anxious and then you're just not yourself. Whereas if you're yourself, your authentic self, you just can't fake being neurotypical. Like,
No.
you just can't. Like,
My authentic self is always 30 minutes late.
and like when you do try and be a normal or a neurotypical person, because it is a neurotypical world, you end up feeling completely exhausted because you're masking the whole time. And I think since having my diagnosis, I've struggled with that, because I'm like, I want to unmask, but also there are things that when I unmask, I can never, like it can be really offensive to people, because I realise that I have a sharp tongue and I would say exactly how it is, especially if we're in an argument. And some people will be like calling it out. That's just me unmasked. Like, I'm literally just saying what's in my head without actually thinking it. So when I try and unmask on my day-to-day, it might come out as being rude or some form of negativity, when really that's just me not having to process my thoughts. I'm just like, here it is. This is me.
So it's not really that you've got a sharp tongue.
No, I guess, yeah. Like, it's not
the-
spiteful. It's,
No.
yeah.
Blunt.
Yeah, it's just blunt. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just will come out as it's thought about without any
Yeah.
of the
No,
niceties of fluffy language.
Yeah, I don't do that very well. Like, I don't think I've ever mastered masking small talk. I don't think
I think you do small talk great.
Really.
And one of the reasons I think you do that is because you stick in there. And I think I've said this to you before, I think that even when the conversation gets a bit awkward, I'm like, oh, hypersensitive, like, oh, this is awkward, I'm off, see you later. Whereas you kind of like stick it out for a bit and then like start up another conversation, and then all of a sudden you're back in there and the conversation's going again. I've run away 3 hours ago.
I mean, I'm glad you admire that.
I do, I think it's a great talent.
I think it's just me not picking up on social cues.
But to your benefit.
So like, that's just me not reading the situation or the person. So they might be wanting to leave, but I'm like,
but you've made loads of friends through doing that.
yeah.
Because the conversation starts again.
Yeah, and like, I guess maybe when I feel like it's awkward and someone hasn't walked away, I just give them a nugget. Do you know what a nugget is?
Go on, enlighten me.
A nugget is a neurodivergent. So neurodivergent people have what you can call nuts or nuggets, pockets of information. We all have them. And so I just give someone a nugget and be like, did you know that blah, 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 blah? And they're like, oh my God, really? And then that's how the conversation starts up again. Because I'm like, well, I'm kind of bored of going, how are you? And how was your day? And how are you feeling? And how's work? And like, that is awkward to me. Like, that's uncomfortable. So I'll be like, oh, did you see the eclipse the other day? Did you know? Blah, 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 blah. And then that becomes something a little bit more meaningful and a little bit more deeper that you can engage with in an intellectual way, rather than talking about, I don't know, work and the weather.
I do remember you talking to the crypto bros about crypto. Would that have been a nugget?
Crypto bros?
Like out in the park, the guys in the park. talking about crypto.
Oh, yeah, maybe it was a nugget. Yeah. I don't know. And sometimes I don't know how I get information and you go to me, did you just make that up? I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's real.
That's my favourite thing that you do. You just say something with enough freaking confidence until someone calls you out on it, and then you're like, I'm like, I just don't believe that, and then I call you out on it, and it's totally not true. You've just pulled it out your ass.
But like, I feel like it can be real.
Okay, but you feeling like it can be real and it actually being real,
But
it's
like,
two very different things.
But like, with enough logic, the possibilities are high.
What? No. If it's not true, it's just not true. Like, you can't be like, I feel like this thing is real, so I'm just going to logic it out till it's real. No. I feel like fairies are real. Like, oh, yeah. I mean, they are probably real, you're right. But, alright, I'm trying to think of an example because...
If you can imagine it, it's probably real. If you can think it, it's probably...
We're not in a fairy tale, babe. Like, if you can't believe it. I don't know where that came from, actually.
It was,
oh no.
R. Kelly.
Oh no, we don't talk about R. Kelly.
We're not allowed to. He's vetoed.
Okay, I won't ever do that again. No, just because something seems logical in your head doesn't make it real. That's a true story.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I wish I could think of an example now. I really want to try and remember the example of the West Indies. I can't remember it
I
well
can
enough.
probably tell you.
Well, no, you're going to tell the answer where you come out right, and that's not how it went.
No, I'll tell you my theory, and we can get the listeners to vote on whether it was feasible or not.
All right, go on, logic it out.
Okay, so Christopher Columbus. What I said was Christopher Columbus was travelling to India. He had intentions to go to India, and he landed in the West Indies. No, he landed in the Caribbean, and then he was like, these people look like Indians, but in the West, so let's call them West Indians. And then that's how the West Indies were born.
I'm yet again gobsmacked at that. Because I just can't believe that.
But like, wasn't...
Like, that just doesn't seem logical.
Okay, but wasn't... There are parts in that story that's true.
I mean, I feel like I'm going to have to Google this because I don't know enough about it. But I feel like when
he was definitely on his way to India, and he landed in the Caribbean. That bit is true.
Yeah.
Whether he looked at the people and said these look like Indians, but not, is another thing.
Yeah.
That's maybe not true. Could possibly be what was true in his head.
Did he have autism?
Maybe he did. Maybe he was...
I mean, it sounds like he's got ADHD. If I was going to like start diagnosing historical figures, I would be like, Christopher Columbus, boom, you've got ADHD, my friend. Foraging into new territory, being like risk-taking, taking like all the king's money, and then going off travelling around the world completely like unencompassed of his own like safety. That sounds like ADHD.
And also just going, that's mine.
Oh yeah.
Just like,
probably just talking over people enough so that they don't get
like,
a word.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But are you saying that I can have this land?
Mine?
Yeah. Can I just rename it?
I'm surprised he didn't mean like Columbus land.
Or Christopher's. The Christophers.
Isn't there a place called the Christopher?
I don't know.
Have I just made that up?
Maybe.
I'm just doing you, aren't I?
No, that's not what I do. Definitely caught that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were we talking about?
How Christopher Columbus has ADHD. What other historical figures do you think would have ADHD or autism? Einstein.
I was thinking Einstein.
Yeah, I would say he had
Definitely.
autism
Yeah.
and ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else? Picasso.
Oh, maybe.
Which one?
ADHD, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking like anyone that can't really draw straight lines. Straight lines. Or straight lines. Or like it's just the abstract of it. Yeah. Like his paintings are quite abstract, like being able to channel that part of the brain.
I think like a lot of the big characters in history, because they say 1 in 20 people now have ADHD, and there's been a 5 times increase in people requesting autism assessments through the NHS. So, and the NHS is kind of bursting at the seams currently with ADHD assessments because of the change in how society views neurodivergence and the amount of knowledge that is now known about it. So I think there's going to be a huge increase in the number of people coming forward who are now diagnosed as neurodivergent. So I would say there has always been a huge number of people with neurodivergence, but it's been unknown up until now. And now being the time when actually as a society we're starting, and we're a long way from the end, I know, but starting to celebrate difference, starting to see the positive benefit of diversity, starting to think about actually difference is not a dirty word, disability is not a dirty word, these are actually enhancements to society, to creativity, to thinking differently. Having people who think differently is a benefit in life. So I think we're on the start of very early days, but the start of a positive directory. Is that the right word? I just made that up. Trajectory. Thank you. And now the education piece around what does ableism look like in the community, and now has to start to really interface, that's the wrong word, but really to make sure it's integrated and that people with disabilities are well supported in society.
Yeah, and it's a I guess it's quite a tricky one to do because everyone is different and has different needs. And if you think like historically, if you blanket statement that everyone's essentially the same and anyone different has to be like cast off somewhere, it allowed the rules to be uniformed. Which meant they have, and I'm going to talk about it in a level of control, because you can control the narrative. You can control if there's a child in school and they're maybe not complying with the rules, they're a bad child, or there's something going on at home, or they have a learning disability but no one knows how to deal with them, so they get cast off and they don't really get the support they need to be able to thrive. And like now there is a lot of work, and there has to be a lot of work, and it will continue to be a lot of work for institutions.
Right.
Institutions. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, my life.
Oh no, don't sing that one either.
No, that's fine.
Oh, is that one okay?
Yeah.
Who's that by?
I pray for someone like...
That's not the one we don't talk about.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But...
Oh, is that Boys to Men?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So yeah, like institutions will now have to put adequate support in place for individuals, and when I say individuals, not only the people that are diagnosed as neurodivergent, but also have in mind the possibilities of people that have not been diagnosed as neurodivergent. And I think that's very important, because there are people like you and I that can go, like, we've spent a lot of our adult life struggling to then find out quite late in life. I'm talking like we're 50, 60.
It's quite. I've lived over half my life without having a diagnosis.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, no, you've not lived half your life yet, have you? Like, I legitimately could die at 80.
I could legitimately die at 75. 6, 7. I'm not very good at maths. 72.
Yeah, to be fair, you could.
Yeah.
My granddad, all of my family died before the age of 64. My mum's about to be the oldest person in my family to have survived.
Damn.
Yeah, right. She's only 62.
Wow.
2 more years and then she'll be the oldest person in my family. Sad, isn't it?
She's like a veteran. Is that the right word?
Veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I thought you said Vectron. I'm like, is that some kind of car? Yeah. Sassy Joe. Go on, Joe. It's the burlesque she does. Keeps her young. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah. So, like, no, I was just going back to how institutions will have to support not only or put in place the individuals rather than the pocket.
Yeah, well, I think already they have to put in place support for people who are because the waiting lists are so long. If you think you have a diagnosis, then already workplaces have to put in support for you. Regardless of whether the diagnosis has come through or not. Because the likelihood is, and the reality for most people, I'm not going to say this around everyone, because there will be some people who this doesn't apply for, but if you have gone to the trouble of self-diagnosing, if you have thought about to such a degree that you have a specific thing, then it's probably correct. You know, people tend in general not to self-diagnose incorrectly, I think, is my
I guess
anecdotal.
You know how you feel, and you know I mean, you know you more than anyone.
Yeah. You are the expert in you.
You are the expert in you.
Is that even a song?
It is now.
Great. Maybe that can be the theme tune. Yeah.
We just went on a tangent about neurodivergencies, and I feel like that was like meant to be its own episode.
Well, it is its own episode. It's episode 1. Thanks for listening. Ta-da!
Yeah, and I guess like I would like to dive in deeper in like am I allowed to say symptoms? Like what our experiences are?
Yeah.
I think that.
I mean, I think symptoms puts it in a negative light. It puts it
Yeah,
in
like that's why I was
model.
just like, I don't want to.
Yeah, for me, for me, they're like traits, but I am, if you want to say symptoms,
we can say traits.
Yeah,
yeah,
because I just think like once you start putting something like ADHD and I know strictly they are kind of within the medical model, but it just feels like such a deficit model. It just feels like a model where there's no strengths, there's only negatives around it.
It's also quite archaic. Like if you think about only recently, a lot of the ADHD and the autistic research was done on males, and it's only recently, a lot of research have come out for females, and like it turns out that females also have ADHD and autism and also struggle, but because of social pressures, we tend to mask a lot more, but also earlier age. Like we learn very quickly to find a way to self-regulate ourselves, which is why it's so difficult to diagnose females to males. Yeah. It's a man's world.
Do you want to know what else I learned the other day? I think I told you this.
You're going to give me a nugget.
Yeah, I am, yeah. That people with ADHD spend more time in theta brain waves. So, when you're concentrating or neurotypical, you'd spend more times in beta brain waves, which is the kind of the doing brain waves. Theta is the meditation creativity brain wave, so it's a slower brain wave. But what that means is that in generalistically speaking, those who are neurodivergent have greater access to the creative part of their brain because their brains spend more time in this slower brainwave state. So harnessing the power of that actually, I think, is a huge potential that just is really not yet seen as potential.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that definitely makes sense for me. And also like for you, so like you studied music.
You studied
media.
Music. I studied media. You did music.
So you studied media and I studied music, and I think those are both very creative industries or areas. We both love sport and like doing sporty activities, getting out in nature, and I think that is very I was going to say wholesome, but very grounding and creative. Like you have to there is nothing logic, like there is logic, but there is an element of creativity and it's freedom. Like just being out in the elements is freedom. You can't walk in a forest and be like, oh, I feel trapped.
Well, I mean, we can't speak for everyone. I don't think I could feel that, but there might be some people who feel that.
Yeah, I'm like, born free, as free as the wind blows.
You're running around like being another Roscoe.
Taking off my shoes.
Getting out there, toes in the mud, squishing it through. No, you'd never do that.
Like, oh my god, this texture is so gross.
What's your weirdest sensory thing?
Weird for me or weird for someone else?
What's the weirdest of the weird?
I think so. Textures is a massive one for me. So I don't like wet clothes.
No.
like just wet anything on me, like tea towel, wet, no, wet towel. Like when I say wet towel, like the towel is wet and then you put it on your body, not that it. I'm fine with my body being wet, the towel being dry, and then drying my body. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But I was just thinking, like, soft towels, wet skin.
Yeah, like
that's the worst
the
thing.
The towel has to be like
hard,
not like rock hard, like.
Oh no, I quite like hard towel because like it's so soft on wet skin. It just makes me feel.
Yeah, like I don't like the super soft ones, but like a medium firm.
like a medium firm towel, please.
You know what? Like a thick John Lewis.
Oh yeah, we do like a John Lewis.
Yeah, like a thick John Lewis towel.
Yeah,
is like where it's at.
I know where it's at.
But yeah, so that like textures in foods, textures in just like touching things, noise, but certain noises, and it's really interesting because I hear people go, oh, like you're sound sensitive, but you did music, and I'm like, well, that's organized sound for me. Like if I go to I can go to a gig and that's fine. It's organized sound for me.
If music sounds good.
Music sounds good. Like music is actually calming for me, and it's meditative. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I know what gigs you've been to. I'm not meditative.
But
yeah,
like,
I'm just gonna meditate to the Chili Peppers.
Give it away now.
Oh, do you know what I started singing earlier? Under the Bridge.
Yeah.
I forgot how good that song was.
Did you think of me?
No. I put it on though.
I mean,
and I had a little sing song.
Okay. What's your like no-nos?
Sensory wise. Oh god, soft towels. And cotton wool. Ripping it. Yeah.
Like the squeakiness. Like when you pull it apart. And
like, honestly, it makes me feel sick. Like it's just no. It just makes me want to. So that's the effect of the sensory stuff on me. It just makes me feel really like I'm gonna
bomb.
Like it just kind of
Yeah. Like it's a very strong feeling, I guess. Like I get really strong feelings. Like I get really angry. Like really frustrated and angry and like spiky, like just really snappy for like no reason. Well, there is a reason, but before diagnosing, I thought there was no reason. Like, and like I don't know, just like
I get so like frustration. I get really frustrated when I can't get the right words. So, like I'll be dropping words, or the words won't come out as I mean them, or I'll use the wrong words, and it then won't adequately. And I think that's my dyslexia rather than the ADHD, but it won't adequately reflect. So what I'm trying to say, and then because I'm taking a longer time to try and think about the words that I want to say, to really make sure that that my words are reflective of what I mean. Often, if I'm talking to someone, they can become a bit frustrated and think I'm being slow. So then they'll start like either cutting in or like giving. Sometimes it's great, but sometimes like when people like give you the word and it's like, I can't really get it out. Yeah. That really frustrates me.
Yeah, it's really frustrating when people do that, and it's quite demoralising because you're just like, like quite often
Sometimes it's good. Like
sometimes it's good.
Sometimes when I've forgotten the word and I can't quite lay my mental hand on the word.
Yeah.
And like someone will be like, just give me a little prod and then I can carry on. That's quite good. But it's the like, and I do this a lot, and maybe this is why I find it frustrating. But like the cutting over when you're like.
Yeah, and I think when someone's aware that you're stuck on a word and they help you, that is helpful. But what I don't like when you're stuck on a word and someone assumes that that's the word that you're looking for and then makes an assumption on the word but then runs with that idea and you're like, that's not what I was trying to say.
Yep.
Or they completely like become disinterested because you're taking so long with your thing. And then they just start talking over you, or like they've just walked off. That also happens a lot, and like for me sometimes my brain runs faster than the words that comes out of my mouth, so I get stuck on a word and then I just keep repeating the word over and over and again because it's not coming out, and like my brain's already had the conversation. We can talk about silent conversations as well because we do it quite often. But
that's the fun. I don't think I tend to do that. You do that a lot.
Yeah, I guess that's my autism.
Because I don't think I do that. And when you're like, oh, we've had this conversation, I'm like, no, we definitely haven't. You're like, but I had it in my head. the words need to come out.
Like we can talk about silent conversations. So
maybe we'll do like an episode on silent conversations.
I don't want to give too many nugs away. Nugs. Here's a nug. But like so when you're stuck on a word and you're trying to get out what you're trying to express, but you just can't find the words. And then someone talks over you. Like I get that a lot at work. Like people would just talk over me, and I'm just like in my head, I'm like, just give me a minute. Like just give me the space, or like help me find what I need, but do not talk over me because this is not what I'm trying to say, or like allow me to have a voice. So thank you for listening to our first intro episode. Please come and visit us again, I guess.
Come back next time. We'll talk more about neurodiversity, neurodivergence.